You are listening to Smart Women's Dating Podcast, episode number 38. Welcome to Smart Women's Dating Podcast. I am your host, certified life coach Lærke Nielsen, and I help smart, independent women attract the love they deeply desire without having to chase or settle. This podcast will give you the mindset tools and insights you need to finally crack the code to your love life. Are you ready? Then let's go! Hey friend, welcome back to the podcast. I've received a few questions from some women in my community. How can I avoid giving the impression that I'm cold or not interested when I'm leaning back into my feminine energy? Who pays on a date and how do I manage this situation? And what does it mean to be in flow and let go of attachment? If you've been asking yourself the same questions, then you want to listen in today. Because today I'm answering questions on how to embody your feminine energy. Questions that I often hear from women in my community, from listeners of the podcast and clients. And so I thought it might be worth sharing my take on this here. So today is going to be a kind of recap of some important elements of feminine energy. But before I get started on this, I want to share with you, if you haven't already heard from last week's episode, that tonight, Thursday, the 31st of August, I am hosting a free masterclass on emotional unavailability. And the way this is going to unfold is that I will share with you 5 different ways that emotional unavailability can show up in dating. Not that it can't show up in other ways, but these are ways I have observed with my clients and in my own past dating life, and that I want to share with you to help you better recognize it when you are faced with it. And then, of course, I'm going to guide you on how to stop attracting this kind of unavailability into your life. Now, the fact that I'm distinguishing between 5 different ways of emotional unavailability doesn't mean that there are 5 different solutions to how to avoid attracting that. It's actually the same things you'll have to do to either stop the cycle you are in or avoid ending up in this trap. And to not just talk about what we don't want in a man, I'll also give you the green flags, what to look for that are signs that a man could be serious and a good long-term partner. And finally, I will at the end of the masterclass offer you 5 keys to access your most attractive and empowered feminine energy. So you'll want to sign up for this class if you haven't already, and even if you can't join, I advise you to sign up because you will receive a replay of the masterclass afterwards. To sign up and see the time in the different time zones, click on the link in the show notes or go to my Instagram at Lærke the Love Coach and sign up on the link in my bio. And if you now listen to this episode and Thursday was yesterday or something else, you can still get the replay for a couple of days, because anyone who signs up until Sunday the 3rd of September at midnight will get the replay. But after that, it's no longer available for people who haven't signed up. So let's get into the episode. The first question I want to answer today is, how do I avoid giving the impression that I'm cold or not interested when I'm leaning back in my feminine energy? Now, maybe it's worth explaining why someone might have this idea that we can give the impression of being cold when leaning back. This is if you only focus on the fact that you let the man take initiative in the beginning. And why do I want you to let the man take initiative? This is for you to make sure that you are only spending time with men that are serious and who are themselves in a healthy masculine energy. They want to reach out. They want to take initiative. They show you that they want to see you. The alternative is that if you do all this instead, because you tell yourself that you're a modern woman who can make things happen instead of waiting for others, and no judgment there, I used to do that myself, but chances are that you're gonna not only push away those who really want to pursue you, because you're not giving them space to do that, you are also going to attract the kind of man who expects you to be the lead all the time. So in order to have a man come towards you and consistently show you that he is interested, you need to give him the space to do that. not push for things to happen or help him move the relationship forward. This is how you want to show up, at least in the beginning, simply to make sure you attract masculine energy and you don't waste time on some guy who isn't sure about you. So the question about seeming cold or uninterested comes from the idea that if you don't invite for the next date or every second date, then he's going to think you're not interested. And this is of course a real concern if you believe that your interest can only be expressed in action. But here's the thing about feminine energy. It's a very appreciating energy. I want you to go all in on showing him that you appreciate his initiative, and that is if you like him, of course. Let him know that you appreciate him when he invites you. Let him experience it on the date and also afterwards in the communication in between dates. You make sure that he does not doubt that you're interested. You also want to find ways to compliment him on the date. Say something nice about his personality that shows him that you are noticing him. And also, when you want a man to invite you out and continue doing that, you want to think of yourself as a woman that's fun to invite out. And that means try to be open to what he suggests for dates, even if you might have an idea that you think is better yourself. Get curious about what he wants to share with you. Take it as an experience. And of course, this has to be within your boundaries. I'm not talking about you compromising your boundaries to please a man on a date. So appreciate, give compliments, be open, and just in general, show him that you enjoy his company, but let him take the lead. This is how you make sure to not come across as cold or uninterested. Then I had a question about paying on dates. Probably a lot of you are thinking about this, and I think it's really simple. You get to offer him to help him with the bill or share it. But if he says, I've got this, you want to accept it, you want to receive it with joy and gratitude, and do not obsess about giving back. And I want to just say the last thing one more time, because it's really important. Do not obsess about giving him back, owing him something, or you no longer being equal. A man who offers to pay is giving you something. It's not a loan, it's a gift. And the moment you close yourself off from that, you are also in a small way rejecting him. And if you imagine doing this again and again in different situations, downplaying compliments, not accepting his help, or not wanting him to pay, this is all what you could call micro rejections that show him, maybe on a subconscious level, that you are not open to him. You are rejecting what he wants to offer you. So it might help you to see it as an energy. You block yourself from the energy he's sending towards you. And this is where we need to put aside this idea that being equal means doing the same, because it doesn't. You can be equal with a man and still do things differently. So don't think it makes you a bad feminist to accept dinner from a man, for instance. And especially not if you like him. You will make him happy by accepting his offer, and you can allow yourself to receive and believe that you are worthy of receiving what he wants to give. So I also always recommend that the first date is short, not a 3-course dinner or something like that. More just something like a coffee or a drink, and then it's most likely also easier for you to receive. The issue comes up when you're out for dinner, for instance. But trust me, if he offers to pay, you have to accept it. You have to be open to receive, even if it feels triggering in the beginning. And then if he offers to pay on the second and the third date, you also want to be open to receive that. You are always free to offer to share, but when he says he wants to pay, you want to accept that with joy. So the final question that I'm going to talk about today is, what does it mean to be in flow and let go of attachment? Letting go of attachment is super important in dating. Attachment is an energy that comes from trying to control the outcome of a situation. It's when you had a few dates with someone and you already feel invested and you want to know where he stands. You want certainty because you are ready to close your dating profile and go all in with this man, for instance. This can feel desperate to a man. This is an energy he can feel, and it's the opposite of attractive. Actually, being unattached is one of the main keys to feminine energy. It's the paradox that the less attached you are, the more you attract him. It's the energy of feeling confident that you will find love sooner or later, and it's not really that important if it's right now or if it's with this particular man, because you trust that if he is not right for you, someone else will show up. So it's a bit like trusting things to unfold naturally. It doesn't mean you will never get your heart broken. You will at some point. But when it happens, you will also see that he wasn't the right person for you anyway, because the main criteria for someone being right for you is that he will want to stay with you. Clinging on to another person from the belief that he is the only one and there can be only one person who's right for you, fighting and resisting if he wants to move on, that is being attached, and it's not only painful for you because you're trying to control what cannot be controlled, it's also unfortunately pushing him even further away. So how do you let go of attachment? It's of course all in the mindset, and here's important to remind yourself that when the right man comes along, he will want to stay. You do not have to work hard for it or convince him. And then cultivate that deep trust that if he doesn't want to stay, it's because he isn't right for you. And I know this can be hard, and you might not be able to see exactly why he isn't right for you in the moment. You might believe that this could work out just great, but something is off if he doesn't want to stay. Now, this is of course given that you have shown him how you feel. You are sure you expressed all your appreciation and positive emotions clearly. Don't be hard to get, don't be cheap with compliments and so on. You want to make sure he knows where you stand. But that does not look like trying to control him. That only looks like expressing your joy and gratitude. And then, if he's not on the same page, you just have to let him go and trust that what is right for you will stay with you. And in order to do that, it's a lot easier if you don't only have one man in your dating life. And what that looks like in practice is up to you to decide whether you're having coffee dates or going for walks or to an exhibition with 3 different men, or whether you are communicating in the apps with 2 and meeting up with 2 others, or maybe only seeing one in real life but then making sure you are chatting with more. The important thing here is to not only have one person in your pipeline, so to speak. I like to call it a man funnel. Men that you have contact with and that are at different stages in your dating journey. Some of them you only had a few exchanges with, and there could be another one who has invited you out but you haven't met him yet, and then a third one is maybe someone you've been seeing for some weeks. This doesn't mean that you're supposed to get intimate with any of them. This could quickly become very complicated for all of you. So I definitely recommend to keep it as a connection where you develop the emotional intimacy. Another way to avoid becoming attached is to not jump into a dating relationship where you see each other 5 times a week from day one. Keep some space in between the dates. Give yourself time to reflect on your experiences together and to really get to know him slowly. This is what I call slow dating. You cannot speed up this process by seeing him more intensely. It's not like 5 days in 1 week equals once a week for 5 weeks. You've got to allow for different situations to come up, for him to be in a challenging situation, for instance, or the same for you, before you can see different aspects of his personality. This takes a bit of time, and it's also important to understand that a lot can happen in the time in between dates. The connection and the attraction can actually build from distance. You both get to miss each other a bit, which is not so bad after all. And then I also want to share with you that something really important to avoid being attached is to keep doing all the things that light you up outside of dating. Don't sit and wait for the phone to ring or the text to pop in. Go out with some friends and have a great time. Show yourself that your whole life isn't all about getting this guy. There are other sources of joy, and you can create a fulfilling life where, in the end, your partner is just a bonus. You want to see it a bit like a table. In order for it to be stable, it needs 4 legs. And you can do with 3 for a while, but it's more stable with 4. Now, only one of these 4 legs can be your partner. The other 3, that could be your friends, your career, or your passions, or something else. But make sure you build a life where your future partner doesn't take up all the space and he's not the only support you have. Like this, if you lose him again, you still have the other 3 legs and you can manage. So to recap how to avoid attachment. Cultivate a man funnel. So be sure to have more than one man in your dating life, whether that is online or in real life. Practice slow dating. Take your time to get to know someone. And continue doing all the things that light you up. Think of the other 3 legs on the table. And then, of course, remember the mindset again. What is meant for me will stay with me. In other words, if he doesn't want to stay, he was never meant for you. And maybe the universe just has bigger and better plans for you. So I hope this all resonated, and I always love to hear your questions, so pop them into a DM on Instagram and I'll answer them in a future episode. And don't forget to sign up for the masterclass tonight. And if you're listening and it's after Thursday, you still can sign up to get the replay all the way to Sunday, the 3rd of September. So hop on the link and sign up, and then you'll receive a link to the replay. And if what you're hearing on this podcast is resonating with you, there's a good chance that you'll be a good fit for my coaching program. So if you're looking for a coach and want to investigate what it would be like to work with me, then book a free consult call on the other link in the show notes. It's a 45 minutes call on Zoom where we focus entirely on you and your love life, and I share with you how I work with clients and what I suggest would be helpful for you to focus on. And then you get to decide if you want to move forward with it and start working with me as your private dating coach. So click on the link in the show notes or go to my website, lærkethelovecoach.com, or my Instagram profile, @lærkethelovecoach, and let's get on a call. I would love to talk to you. I'll be back again next week with a new episode, and in the meantime, take care and enjoy dating. If you like what you're hearing on this podcast and you want to get support from a coach on your love journey, I invite you to book a free consult call with me. You will find the link in the show notes. And also, don't forget to subscribe, and I would love it if you would rate and review this podcast, and then you'll also help other women find it.